What's something everyone loves that you secretly find overrated? Beyonce. I mean, sure, she's good, but I don't see why she has a godlike status. Agreed. I liked her music in the early 2000s, but the past 5 years or so, I just don't get the appeal. The music sounds terrible, and she has a total god complex which is off-putting. The pregnancy photo shoot was the worst. If any normal person would have done those photos, people would say how ugly it is. But because it's her, people suddenly think that nasty fabric and gaudy floral arrangements are beautiful and classy. She cleared out an entire floor of the Akla Medical Center so she could give birth. Her self-importance is unsettling. Twitter. It might be because it's never been a big thing where I live, but it's not that amazing. Social media is only as bad or good as you make it. On Twitter I follow people I find funny, news sources, and sports/esports players I like. It's a good time. On Facebook I have nothing but family, people from high school. It sucks. It's like saying Reddit sucks when you're only subscribed to subreddits you don't like. Well, duh. This is the key. There are loose Twitter communities, like an unstructured subreddit almost. Finding one that you like is the key to enjoying Twitter. I mostly follow Canadian journalists and academics, and it's a fun way to engage with new perspectives. Truly not trolling, but Star Wars. They're mostly fine movies. I don't hate them. I always see them eventually, but I don't understand the level of dedication to them, as if they are the pinnacle of cinema. Camping out in front of theaters for days, going to insane lengths to avoid spoilers, etc. I mean, they're good, but not that good emo. Thanks for saying this. I'm 100% in the same camp. An interaction I had a few days ago at work, for example, was weird and the person was honestly shocked when I told him, "Dude, got your tickets then?" Me, for what? Dude, Thursday night. Me. Dude, last GD? Me, oh right, now I will see it at some point. Dude, what? You need to get to see it opening night. WTF, I thought you would be all over that. Disappointed ginger Mexican. Walked away, seemed honestly annoyed at me. That guy's just a twat. Even when I was a kid in the 80s, there were many that weren't into the movies. But for many of us, Star Wars was the pinnacle of if in those years. In a way, I'm surprised today's generation is just as hooked, because we get tons of movies with similar stories and effects. Whereas in the early 80s, the movies stood out from everything else. Despacito, it's alright, no reason it should have been listened to over 5 billion times combined on YouTube and Spotify. Edit. Wow, thanks for the upvotes. This one comment takes up the vast majority of upvotes my other comments have gotten. I appreciate it for boosting Puerto Rico's economy. I'm from Puerto Rico. What is this economy you speak of? Weddings. We are currently planning ours and slowly realizing just how much unnecessary crap people pay for just because they are told that it must be part of a wedding. Oh, you want to rent our rustic barn for 6 hours? There is a $8,000 event fee, but it does include plastic tables and chairs, but you will have to set them up yourself. I do want to rent your barn, but it is for a theme day meeting. IDK, $200? Virtual assistants and unnecessary smart devices. Alexa, can you get my smart pants to tickle my booty when it's time for a poo? You know, I heard a poster a while back say something like this. Once, we freaked out about wiretaps, and it became a national scandal. Nowadays we ask the wiretap to add milk to the grocery list and what weather it's gonna be today. If you listen to the Alexa rat, they literally claim as a selling point that it is always listening, always on, and can hear and listen to you from almost any direction at any volume. That crap's creepy. Funny thing is, when Sparks 1 came out, it advertised always listening, and people freaked out. But Alexa, man, it's cool. New Year's Eve celebrations. To me, it makes sense in New Zealand/Australia. I'm from NZ. It's the peak of our summer. Everyone's got Christmas, and dealing with relatives out of the way, there are loads of huge music festivals, etc. People can all get rat-faced wasted without worrying about dying of hypothermia. Then you cure the hangover the next day by going to the beach, lying in the shade, having a drink to bring you right again, and hopefully a barbecue at night with heaps of sausages and salads and crap. that I would be able to get behind. Sounds like a blast. Shabby chic. I used to like that vintage and upcycled look, but now that it has become mainstream, folks, vintage is everywhere and it's tacky as hell. It's the same with kitschy styles too. Owls, mustaches, old tea sets, flamingos, unicorns etc. are not cute and quirky anymore because they're everywhere. And it doesn't make you quirky either. My house is full of owls, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I like owls, but it started out with me buying myself some household items that were woodland creatures themed. Foxes, raccoons, owls, etc. Well, my mom and grandma got it in my head that I loved owls, and now everything they buy me is owl themed. Last month my stepdaughter decided to sit in one spot in our house and count how many owls she could see without moving. I think it was like 26 or something. Hey, owls are lit. Tanning and a lot of celebrities. Just now, at age 26, coming to terms with how bad my skin has become due to tanning. I lived in tanning beds in high school and laid out for hours upon hours in the sun during the summer up until last year. I have forehead/eye wrinkles, tons of age/sunspots and a few questionable moles. It's not worth it, people. Yes, I'm pale as hell and the struggle is still real not to want to tan, because I feel prettier with a tan. But the damage is showing up very fast. Hype beast fashion. Most of the shoes are fine, but the clothes are ugly, overpriced messes. Nothing wrong with wearing 1 or 2 pieces of expensive clothing. But when all you literally do is just put as much money into your outfit as you can, it doesn't look good, man. Especially if that outfit is a pair of camouflaged pants and a white t-shirt with a red rectangle in the middle. Starbucks. The coffee is gross and overpriced. The reason why it's so hyped is because it's consistently average. It's not great coffee, but whatever you order, it's going to taste the same at every Starbucks. The consistency of the coffee is due to Starbucks burning it in every chain. True. Education. The American education system isn't geared towards learning. It's geared towards memorization and test taking. They don't teach you anything. By the time I was in 9th grade, my teachers, my parents, the principal and my IEP manager had all agreed there was nothing more they could teach me. But I still had to go. Because I was a minor. It was awful. And I made it worse. For everyone else. Star Wars and Harry Potter. The writing is lazy and the drama is forced. The heroes are Winnie Bishes, whose entire story arc is that victory was assured from the moment of their birth. I question the literacy of anybody over the age of 14 who is still reading Harry Potter, and I disregard every cinematic opinion held by anybody who claims any sliver of the Star Wars franchise is anything more than mildly entertaining. This irritates me so much. The timeline in X-Men movies. So now Dr. X is in a wheelchair, the next movie he's walking, and the movie after that he's in a wheelchair again. In this flashback he's walking, but in the other flashback, which happened before the other, he's in a wheelchair. They tried to fix it in the prequels, but it only made it more confusing. So in this movie he end up in a wheelchair, but in the prequel sequel he's walking again, because his friend created these meds that makes you walk again. But these meds disable your mutation, so he decides to stop taking them and goes back to the wheelchair. Make up your mind, is he handicapped or not? This sort of wheelchair shenanigans is pretty much on par with the source material. If I recall correctly, Professor X was able to walk whenever he lost his powers for whatever reason. Yeah, not sure how accurate the movie is, but his powers make it so he can't walk anymore. They had an episode of X-Men animated series where they were stuck on an island that nullified their powers and Professor X was walking around fine. Drinking. When I'm wasted I feel like an idiot and only want to be sober. When people are wasted around me, I get extremely annoyed and want them to leave. I hate the taste of alcohol. People tell me try this, try that. It's all gross to me. Also, I start feeling sick before I start feeling wasted. So the only way for me to be wasted is to also feel nauseous. You're lucky. I used to have a serious drinking problem because of how good it felt to me. I didn't want to do anything unless I could do it while I was wasted. It was bad. It felt that good to me. I'm a lot better now. Big Bang Theory. I think it's nerd culture written for non-nerds. As I nerd, I think it's exploitative and inauthentic. I feel like the only thing more annoying than the Big Bang Theory is Awesome Circular Jerk is the anti-Big Bang Circular Jerk. Everyone either loves it or hates it with a passion. It's just a show. I dunno. So many people hate on this show because it is not an accurate depiction of nerd culture. What are they expecting from a comedy sitcom that is written by comedy writers to appeal to a wide audience? The show does not claim to be a documentary on the lives of geeky scientists. Hating Trump. We get it, he sucks. No need to preach from the rooftops about every word he utters. But every word he utters is so inane and idiotic, it's hard not to talk about it. A pretty popular thing around here for girls seems to be paint night. You pay $45, you drink and someone shows you how to paint the same painting as everyone else. It's super expensive for something that seems so pointless to me. I'd rather go to a friend's house, get some dollar store paint supplies, and get trashed watching Bob Ross. Seems more entertaining and not as expensive. My work social club sponsored one, and it was honestly super enjoyable. Spectator sports. Blah. Okay, so you moved an object over a line, or through a hole accurately. Bully for you. Now please go do something useful. I group loving sports, and by consequence, the players, with celebrity worship. There's no difference to me between girls crying over boy bands, and grown men yelling and crying over sports teams at TVs. It's coming from the same personality trait, and in both causes, I think it's just really immature and just such an unappealing thing for adults to do. I expect to be downvoted, mostly because you will never meet more defensive groups than mega fans. Have you ever told a Beyonce fan that Beyonce isn't that great? It doesn't go well. Same with sports fans. I think that really proves the point in a big way. But here the real issue, we all know sports are entertainment. So why can't sports fans admit that? Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, Supernatural, Star Wars, pop music, and using a controller for Rocket League. I've seen the first few episodes of GOT, and it didn't hook me. I've also seen some random episodes with friends, and I'm just not interested. I've seen Supernatural and that type of stuff doesn't interest me either. Really TV shows with drama, and he said she said stuff don't interest me, and if the plot is predictable. Star Wars is pretty good, I'll watch it if my friends/family invite me to, but I would never watch it alone on my own terms. Pop music is just annoying to me. My genre is dubstep/EDM/trance, that type of stuff. It's happened many times before where I'm riding in a car with friends and a pop song starts playing on the radio and everyone starts singing, except me because I don't know the lyrics or just don't know the song. And with Rocket League, my thumbs don't work very well with controllers in general. Pretty much all the pros and 90% of the Rocket League population plays with a controller and I've tried, but my thumbs always derp out in intense situations. You can be good at the game with a mouse and keyboard, it might take longer, but it's possible. Logan. The movie. Everyone at /r/movies loves it. I just found it dull. I watched them for the cool powers and villains. That's great. You just realized why movie lovers/cinemaphiles, who generally crap on superhero movies, love Logan so much. It's not a superhero movie. It may exist in that universe, with some of those storytelling tools, but the movie isn't about the hero and his actions. It's more about how the hero feels about getting older, having to take care of his parents, while they slowly lose their physical and mental abilities. Rough stuff for most adults who inevitably have to go through the same thing. Then add on top of it a complicated new-ish father/daughter dynamic, again mirroring what many parents go through with kids. Even more is the reality that Logan himself is aging, getting slow, tires faster. His frustration with himself for feeling like his body is betraying him, leading to him letting down his loved ones is pretty clear. All of these themes strike deep chords with the cinemaphile audience. Movies about emotion and telling relatable stories subtly are what they love. Not to mention the adults in the audience, who are facing many of the same problems. taking care of yourself, your kids, or your parents. A single one of those often is all consuming. All three must feel like such an exhausting balancing act. You can see he tries to cope with the stress with booze, which he at some level realizes isn't helping. Another struggle many relate with. This is one of the few, if not the only, superhero movie to effectively tell a story to adults about soul-crushing life problems so many face. It's a story about getting knocked on your ass by life itself, and despite the overwhelming exhaustion of it all, Logan gets back up every time to do his best, even if it isn't good enough. That's why people love it, and it's okay if you don't. The movie likely wasn't intended for you to relate to, the same way Captain America, Spider-Man, or the other X-Men movies are much harder for old people to relate to. A central theme of those movies is finding your identity in a world you find increasingly hostile to your success as an individual, or theme that resonates with younger audiences, because sooner or later everyone has to figure out who they are and where they belong. Most 50+ people have forgotten how hard and how crappy of an experience that can be, and most 35 people don't know yet how freaking emotionally taxing the lives of the older crowd really are. Superpowers and villains are a great way to tell these stories without being so direct, and the pure fantasy of it all is a whole nother thing that takes craft and skill to create without causing disbelief, which ruins movies. Being taken to another world for an hour or two and making it seem real enough that you forget just a little about your own life is a powerful art, and I'm glad you can appreciate the work that goes into what cinemaphiles deem to be shallow movies. Sorry, I went on way longer than I thought.